to be as good faith as possible here. Transmedicalism is cool and normal.
I love allies so much.
Go up to real Nazis and ask what that's all about.
There's like a 5-year waiting period in the UK for like the London one that I went to.
Yeah, you're stupid for that one.
How is that incorrect?
They have the trans police doctors stationed outside of the bathrooms now, giving brain dissections to everybody who dare try to enter the sacred women's restroom.
Listen to a fucking word he said the whole time.
Dummy. Sit down, sweaty. Like, this is stupid.
I would love to challenge. I don't know if Alex Gunter will ever see this. So we're just going to get in. We'll see what Alec Gunter has to say. Most famous for being on Jubilee, presenting himself as a very, very nice, very, definitely not racist, definitely not, didn't used to be a far-righter kind of guy. So, see what we got.
This is transvestigation, by the way. Like, this is transvestigation taken from the outside of the body to the inside. Now this person wants to scan your brain and say, oh, but are you really trans? Oh, we must take out the scalpel. We must dig in and check to see if you are a real trans before you can enter the bathroom. So in the trans community, there is a group of people known as true scum, aka transmedicalists. For the purposes of this video, I will be referring to them as transmedicalists. That's just the term that I know, and it's the official term that they prefer. Okay? Not that, I think that, the overwhelming majority of transmedicalists are just bad faith actors who are trying to gatekeep, medicine for trans people.
Yeah, straight away, like, where's this coming from? I don't think he really makes a meaningful effort to elaborate on this.
And so I frankly don't think they deserve that respect, but I will give it to them.
So yeah, they don't deserve respect right off the bat. So it doesn't feel like a particularly open-minded entry into transmedicalism. You'd think a cis ally listening to a trans person explain what transmedicalism is to them, you'd think they'd listen to that. You'd think they'd be interested in trans people's experiences, because that seems to be what we focus on, what we say is important, but it doesn't always work out that way, is what we're finding.
Then nonetheless, transmedicalism, what is it? Basically, you have trans people, right? And if you're transgender, and like, let's say that I just now find out that I'm transgender, right? And I'm a woman. I have this revelation right now. Alec Gunter is now a woman. Not actually happening, but let's just say for all intents and purposes that that's happening. I am now trans. I am now...
How long do you think it will be before that actually does happen?
A trans woman, okay? Don't clip that. I am now... But in that scenario, that's how that would go, okay? Regardless of the beard and the shoulder width and everything else, I'm now a trans woman, okay? And then I would probably begin the process of actually physically transitioning my body, medically transitioning my body to look more like a woman, usually. Not necessarily, but usually, right? 99 times out of 100. So transmedicalists are under the impression that until you begin that medical process, you are not a real trans person, right? Like, you're not actually trans.
We've got no sources cited here. I don't think that's a general transmedicalist take. I think intention is important. Like, to be clear, like, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between transmedicalist and not transmedicalist, I guess. I think dysphoria probably is pretty important in being trans. But I can see why, that might lead you to become non-binary or something. So I do believe in that kind of thing. But for me, if he's gonna set it out as something bad that needs to be taken down, he probably needs to be a lot stronger in what he's citing here, because I think that intention can very much be a part of transmedicalism. So it doesn't have to be you started the process, basically.
Until you actually go through the hormone therapy and the surgery and all this. And I think that's very silly and degrading, honestly. I don't agree with that worldview. I don't.
It's silly and degrading.
Because I believe that gender is simply a social construct that needs to be done away with.
Because it's a social construct that needs to be done away with. Okay, I don't know what he's trying to say there. Gender abolition is a whole different kettle of fish to being transmedicalist or to being trans, quite frankly. And something being socially constructed, that doesn't mean it automatically needs removing. We're already in a completely different topic. He's like, well, I think this, so this doesn't matter. Which, it might not matter to you, but it matters to others. So let's see.
Okay? People need to live their lives, express themselves how they would like, and just be people. We don't need men and women. We just need people. Okay? We just need people. All that being...
We just need people, not men and women. Sure. I have a feeling the vast majority of the country... of the population of the world, should I say, does not agree with you there.
Said, the reason I'm explaining all of this is because this person was brought to my attention in the Discord, and if you're not in my Discord and you would like to be, you can suggest videos in there. So check out my Discord link in the description below. It's in every video. This person, Godless Snowshoe, was brought to my attention. And they have a little under 2,000 subscribers, but nonetheless, their videos actually do pretty good view-wise. So I decided I'd give them a look and just see what's going on here. And potentially, you know, I'll keep an open mind. I'll keep an open mind. The video
So he's going to keep an open mind. He doesn't sound like he's keeping an open mind, but hey.
is called Transmedicalism Explained by a Transmedicalist. Stop assuming what we believe without asking.
Which he's already done, by the way.
Let us proceed.
But he won't acknowledge that because he's already got an idea in his mind. He'll have an audience that thinks a certain way, and this is just like confirming what they think, which is very easy to do. Anyone can sit there and say what the popular thing is. Yeah, so let's see.
So I had a request for this video. I cannot remember who said it or where it was said, but I'm going to make it anyway. It's basically just to talk about the basics of what transmedicalism and true scum is, because unfortunately, most people who even know what the word means did not hear about it or learn about it through people who actually hold that belief. But
true, very true.
Through people who don't like us, said something rude about us, they asked what it was, and then they gave a derogatory explanation.
Yeah, this is the thing. History is written by the victors, and the transmedicalists lost this whole thing. Like now all the online communities, they're run by like the two cutes or whatever. Like I feel like such a child saying all this shit, but that's how it went down. This is before my time. I wasn't involved in this kind of thing, so I don't know. I just know that it happened, and history is written by the victors. So transmedicalism is always described in the worst way possible.
As opposed to,
we don't like you because of the things that you've said. That's a legitimate reason to not like you.
The things that you've said, such as
going to people
oh, nothing, great,
who actually believe in it, or communities for people with those beliefs, and saying, hey, what's up? I don't get this. Can you explain it to me? Kind of like going to a conservative.
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit because I know that I just got a jab in. I'm going to be as good faith as possible here, okay?
He's going to be as good faith as possible, despite the jab. It's interesting, whenever people like do the thing where they insult something and then say, well, you know, I'm not going to insult something. Well, you got the insult out already. It's like you can't put it back. So you've already said it. So I don't know. This is pussy shit, in my opinion.
We are going into this with a fresh understanding of transmedicalism. Our minds are open to the idea that transmedicalism is cool and normal.
Cool and normal. See, he even sounds good faith, right? He sounds so good faith. I can't wait to watch this man's mind get expanded in real time.
And asking what being gay is, it's not exactly the best source.
Hold on.
So
yeah, that's true. That's true. What's he going to say?
What are they comparing this to? Unfortunately, most people who even
wasn't fucking listening. Listen to the video. That might help.
Know what the word means. Sorry, I'm like rewinding the whole video. Whatever, just play it.
About it or learn about it through people who actually hold that belief. But
okay, I see. So they're saying that like they'll go to trans people who are not true scum and oh, I said it already. Transmedicalists. We're using
Don't say true scum if you're cis. Just don't do that. It comes across really badly.
Transmedicalists. They'll go to people who are not transmedicalists and ask about what it is. I guess, but like if like that's like saying, well, you don't really like go up to real Nazis and ask what that's all about, right?
Why are we comparing them to the Nazis straight away? Like, really?
Right? You're just bigoted against Nazis. Like,
you didn't even say bigoted. I'm assuming I think this person's pronouns are he, him. I can't fucking deal with pronouns. Everyone just gets called whatever they get called, okay? That's how it is. If I get mispronounced occasionally, that's just how it is. I don't really give that much of a shit. Anyway.
No, that's not how that works.
Who don't like us.
Wait, that's not how that works. And now I feel like I skipped something.
And so, oh, I said it already. Transmedicalists. We're using transmedicalists. They'll go to people who are not transmedicalists and ask about what it is. I guess, but like if like that's like saying, well, you don't really like go up to real Nazis and ask what that's all about, right? You're just bigoted against Nazis. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
He didn't say that. What he said was that people who aren't transmedicalists will give, you know, spurious kind of definitions as to what transmedicalism is. And you could say the same about people that aren't Nazis. I mean, what kind of shit does this guy call a Nazi, for example, that clearly isn't?
Who don't like us said something rude about.
Not that transmedicalists are always comparable to Nazis. I'm just giving you guys an example. Okay, before anybody, the outrage machine fires up.
Over some basic thing.
Again, this is so fucking pussified. He says the thing and then walks it back. Like, if you really gave that much of a shit, then why are you saying it in the first place?
things, some areas where trans med people disagree with each other, and also what the ultimate goal of this is, as opposed to the kind of alternative live and let live. If someone wants to identify as cat gender, it's not hurting anyone, and why we think that it is hurting people, and how we think the best way to stop that is. So let's get into it.
All ears. Just like this.
I love the active listening. Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm just going to start off with a very basic bare bones definition. There are two ideas that are required to be trans med. Some people would argue it's just the first one, but generally these two. You need dysphoria to be trans. And
already wrong. No, you don't.
And being trans.
He doesn't expand on that. Obviously, this guy would disagree with you that he's wrong.
Is a biological or medical phenomenon. And
I think it's closely intertwined with medicine, but not by necessity. That is simply a result of like gender norms in society. And also like if you are transsexual, like, okay, like if you have body dysphoria, okay, as a trans person, then you need to get medicine involved. But that's an issue with.
So I have body dysphoria rather than gender dysphoria. People who are transsexual have body dysphoria rather than gender dysphoria?
Body dysphoria, not necessarily with being trans. I can have body dysphoria as a cis male with tits, all right? It's the same concept. Exactly the same concept.
He's not explaining any of this very well. Like, what is he talking about even?
And I would like to note with the dysphoria thing.
How has he proved that people without gender dysphoria can be trans? Like, what is that based on? I mean, to me, if someone doesn't have dysphoria, they still can medically transition. Whether they're trans or not, I guess they would be at that point, but it's like, why would you? And whenever people make the point, well, you don't have to have gender dysphoria to be trans, it's like, well, who are we talking about? What's an example? And why do they do it? But there never is one, so I don't know. It'd be nice if any of these people would explain what they're actually saying instead of just saying, nope, that's wrong, it's actually this. Because, to be fair, he doesn't have to explain shit, because presumably his audience are going to lap up whatever he says, so long as it's the correct thing, which will be that gender is just whatever you make it up, and we don't need gender anyway, because we're gender abolitionists for some reason. I don't understand gender abolition. I don't see the point in it. I don't know what these people are trying to achieve, really. This guy looks pretty gendered to me. You think I'm still not going to call you a man if we got rid of gender, because that's what you look like to me, so that's what I'd probably call you.
A lot of people who hear that think that that means you need to suffer to be trans, but unfortunately a lot of people also misconstrue.
Dysphoria is suffering. Dysphoria is suffering, okay?
Suffering is like a very strong term. I think what this person is trying to say is that it's not just, you know, suffering as in like you have a crippling gender dysphoria and it's very painful, it's very difficult. It can be quite mild. It can just be a discomfort with who you are and, you know, not really connecting with your gender. It can be lots of things.
If you have dysphoria that describes a state of suffering. So if you are saying, yes, you must have dysphoria to be trans, then you are saying, yes, you must now be or have at some point suffered in order to be trans. And that is simply not.
He's putting this in such a weird way and going after such weird, like, concepts.
Not the case.
It's not the case. See, he's told us it's not the case. Is he gonna expand on that? Nope, once again. Great. I love allies so much. You're so great. Like, it's great watching cis allies take on trans people at their own shit and just do an awful job of it. Just be patronizing. Just, no, that's not what it is. No. Like, anyone could do this. Like, so far, this is fucking terrible, quite frankly.
Dysphoria is when disagreeing with that statement. Dysphoria does not have to be writhing on the floor and trying to cut your tits off.
Nobody said that. Dysphoria is a disorder.
Yeah, oh my God. He literally fucking paused him halfway through to go off about suffering, and he just explained it, and now he's just saying, well, no, you're wrong again.
And it's better to not have it.
Definition.
Does this guy seriously seem like open-minded? Is this good faith? Is this what leftists are calling good faith? Like, honestly, fuck this shit. I wouldn't want anyone like this advocating for my rights. I don't want it. I don't think it's cool. I think it's really fucking cringe, quite frankly. And yeah, this is dog shit so far.
And the treatment for it is gender affirmation.
A state of unease, discomfort, or dissatisfaction.
Yes, suffering.
That's a very technical way of putting it, and I don't know why he's harping on this point. Like, who cares? You have a slightly different definition for a word. Right.
So if someone calls you the wrong pronouns and you get a little uncomfortable, that is dysphoria.
Yes.
If you are crying because you can't.
And that is a form of suffering, okay? Not a big one,
You could say that, but like, who cares?
but you're still suffering. If I stub my toe, all right?
Wow, great own guy. You convinced someone that maybe what they're saying isn't necessarily suffering is suffering. Great.
You know, it's reasonably hard. Oh, shit, well, that hurt a little bit. I suffered. That's suffering, okay? It's a strong word to use, but it's still suffering nonetheless, in a gross way. When I say gross, I mean like just a strictly by the books way. That's what I meant.
Can't have top surgery, that is dysphoria. Both of those things are dysphoria. Dysphoria can be immense suffering and it can be mild discomfort. It does not need
Which
to
is still
be
suffering.
a whole I want to die thing. And
Nobody
I
said
think
that.
most people know that we believe this, and it is a straw man to make it seem like, oh, you think trans people deserve to suffer.
Wait,
to put
you just did a straw man by saying that, like, we believe that you have to be like, dysphoria means you're on the floor dying. That is a straw man.
That's, oh my God. You think dysphoria means you're on the ground.
words in our mouth and
Let
say
me-
that,
let
but
me
that is
get
not
that
what it is. It's
again.
simply
I'm being fucking gaslit.
Gross
already.
way. When I say gross, I mean like,
dysphoria. Both need
which is
to
still, you just did a straw man by saying that, like, we believe that you have to be like, dysphoria means you're on the floor dying. That is a straw man.
be words.
Gross way. When I
Right,
say
you know what,
gross, I mean
forget it.
like just a,
I know what I heard. They were saying it's not necessarily writhing on the floor dying, having gender dysphoria. It can be mild discomfort. It can be fairly extreme suffering. There's a spectrum, right?
strictly by the books way. That's what I meant.
Minutes on its own to make your mouth and say that, but that is, it can be immense suffering and it can be mild discomfort. It does not need
Which
to
is still
be
suffering.
a whole I want to die thing. And
Nobody
I
said
think
that.
most people know that we believe this, and it is a straw man to make it seem like, oh, you think trans people deserve to suffer.
Wait.
To put
You just did a straw man by saying that, like, we believe that you have to be like, dysphoria means
So he's saying he thinks this guy believes that he thinks you have to be suffering, writhing on the floor.
you're on the floor dying. That is a straw man.
Well, he didn't say that either. Ah, this is so fucking pathetic. Let's just keep going.
words in our mouth and say that, but that is not what it is. It's simply
Unlike this person would do, put words in our mouths, right?
Whose mouths? Fucking hell. This guy's not even trying to give this video a fair shake. It's insane.
saying you need to experience discomfort
Never.
with your birth gender to be trans. Now, going to the
You just call me a slack
biology,
jaw?
medical
I think
side
not.
of things, I will
Just kidding.
have scientific sources for this in the description, as well as a video where I go more into depth on this, because that would take like 20 minutes on its own to make that video. But I'm going to go over a basic understanding of what trans meds mean when we
Yeah,
say
or sorry, I don't want to assume pronoun. Here, let's just check real quick and cover our bases. Although a lot of trans
See, that's the thing. When you're doing this woke shit, you have to like follow up on people's pronouns and stuff. I can't be asked with that shit, quite frankly. If I get your pronouns wrong, I'm so sorry. But you're not gonna fucking die from it, so get over it.
meds don't have their pronouns. Okay, he, him, sorry. What I was saying is he argues with this person that he's arguing with right now in the shower. Okay? This is a shower argument. That's called a straw man.
that being
What does that even mean? What is he talking about? What have we had so far? Suffering is bad. Gender should be abolished. Everything this guy has said so far is wrong, but I'm not going to explain why. What have we had so far? This is like nothing.
trans is biological. There are a plethora of studies that have been being done since the 90s up until multiple done this year that prove that brains are sexually dimorphic and that
I don't care. And also, I don't know how true that is. I think there are like some differences, but like it
You linked some studies, my man. You could have a look.
doesn't matter. Okay, so what if a cis woman has like a male brain but still wants to be a woman? Oh, do we do brain? Here, let's just do brain scans on everybody, right? Let's do brain scans on everybody. Just line up for your brain scan when you turn 11 or 12 or whatever. And then if your brain scan tells us that you're supposed to be a man, then we'll transition you. Oh, sorry.
So this guy is very averse to straw men for someone who makes a hell of a lot of straw men, because this is taking the argument in a complete different direction to what this person is saying. He's pausing very quickly. Maybe I am too, but I happen to know with this video I'm not doing so. I happen to know that he is, because he's just jumping in at every opportunity, getting those cheapos. Oh, you said suffering. Well, actually, it means this. Like, great, good job.
Timmy, you don't want, sorry, Tammy, you don't want to be Timmy? Oh, well, too bad. Your brain says otherwise. Get in the trans machine, right? That's not how that works. And you don't think that either, okay? I'm not saying you think that. I'm saying
So he's saying that's not how it works. That, I mean, geez, is he trying to say that he doesn't think brains are like sexually dimorphic? First off, at least look at the evidence that's been provided. I have it right here, okay? Like, Here we go. There's 2 of the studies. And by the way, they say something that would actually be quite interesting to him, which at the end of this first one, it says, we should redefine the way we think and speak about transgender and other conditions that are not conforming to traditional gender concepts prevalent in modern societies. Yeah, another one was finding at least 4 different gender identity subtypes. So it's kind of suggesting the binary is not perfect in like, it's not a perfect model for doing this, which is the kind of thing that you'd think this guy would be on board with, but he hasn't looked at the studies because he doesn't give a shit. He's already said that he doesn't give a shit. He says that he doesn't need to care about whether brains are different between men and women when actually that could be a huge signifier. It wouldn't be perfect. Like, ultimately, things like gender dysphoria, like symptoms and stuff, would still be important, but it could be a predictive factor. It could shed some light on how transgender works, how gender dysphoria works. So we've got these, they've been up long enough. He didn't even look at them. He's not interested in actually learning more about this subject. He just wants someone to dunk on, is what this is coming across like. And I don't know how that is supposed to be furthering trans rights. I don't know how this cis person shitting on a trans person for thinking differently to him. To me, that seems bordering on transphobia rather than trans allyship, right?
I think that's the natural conclusion of your logic.
That this phenomenon applies.
That's the natural conclusion. You said the most stupid shit known to man. And now you're saying that's the natural conclusion. Like, you won't even engage with his points. You're saying, who cares? Well, I've given you a reason why you might care, because this could be a big deal.
To trans people in a way that their brain...
Unlike you, I don't ascribe opinions to you.
Is
Timmy? Oh, well, either, okay?
in a way that their brain...
Unlike you, I don't ascribe opinions to you.
That's all you've been doing. Wait, what? Oh my god, I feel like I have to like click back and find previous things every time he speaks.
Is structured more similarly to the gender they identify with than the gender they were born as.
Which you've said so many interesting
I'll explain a little bit more what this means, like what it regards.
He's like just talking over it the whole time. Like, does he ever like stop and think, have I actually got the point, seeing as these sentences are like carrying on? Sometimes for minutes at a time because he won't stop pausing.
But I do want to acknowledge a lot of people, when this is brought up, say those studies have been disproven. Again, I would like to note that there are well over 100.
I don't care if they've been disproven or not. What does it do for us?
I mean, I've already gone into that. Maybe there's a tendency to be like, well, that could lead to this. That doesn't mean it has no use. That's why there'd be further discussion required, but you're not really going to get further discussion sitting there just sassing a fucking YouTube video, right?
What do those studies do for us? What is the purpose?
He doesn't care. This guy does not care.
Besides like a gross understanding, once again, gross used as like, by the books understanding of how this stuff works. That's the only...
Well, that's a good thing. Why would we not want to know more?
Reason that we would want to know. Just like a gross need for knowledge.
Of them.
Unless
However,
you can
this
explain
is never
otherwise.
backed up with a source or any statements from the involved researchers. A lot of the time, it comes down to hearsay.
I just want to get out of the shower ASAP, not argue with made-up person. I argue with made-up people all the time. How do you think I got so good at debating?
Heard it from someone else. I can't substantiate it.
The difference is I argue with real points.
And occasionally, it will come to...
I mean, I'd love to like splice in some like Jubilee clips of his debating skills. I haven't really watched his debates much. There was one with someone from LGB Alliance that just got ridiculous straight away. I wasn't really on anyone's side there because I don't really get the LGB Alliance particularly. It just seems like another group taking things to extremes. I don't know.
What professionals in other areas or professionals who were in that area but did not actually work on those studies saying that they are skeptical of the results. I'm
saying that I don't care about them. You have not given me a reason to care about these studies, even if they are true.
It's fine to be skeptical. That's a good thing. I support that.
He thinks he doesn't have a reason to care about these results because he doesn't understand what this person's talking about. And if he actually listened properly to what this guy's talking about, he might understand. But you're never going to reach someone who has this in their brain that this is just a bad thing and this is causing my friends harm or whatever. So this is a completely pointless, like all he's doing is showing how close-minded and ignorant he is of transmedicalism ultimately. And that's not helping. That's just contributing to the issues where people can't talk about certain things because, oh, that's transmedicalism, that's a transmedical issue, you know, like this guy is honestly, all he's capable of doing is causing like harm to trans communities by doing this kind of thing. He's not helping anyone. There's no point in him talking about this subject.
But there's a difference between being skeptical and taking someone saying, I don't know about that, and turning.
By the way, the good faith's gone. He's already strawmanned us, so
the good faith was never here. He has not been good faith at all. He's not interested in being good faith. This isn't a serious video. He's not serious as a advocate, quite frankly.
Faith's gone.
Into this has been factually disproven. As far as I'm aware, and trust me, I have looked, none of the major studies in this area have been discredited. None of the journals have been discredited. None of the scientists have had any big scandals about fake information or anything. They exist.
Why do I care about the study?
For decades. They are.
Well, I don't know. Try reading it, maybe. Try reading any of them. We just looked at 2 very quickly. You could get the information and then decide whether you care or not. Like, why would this person need to qualify that? You should already know what they're talking about, which is that, you know, differences between men and women can definitely be like a predictive factor in who becomes trans, for sure. And if brains can be different, then that might be important information, even if it means, you know, if it's used as a diagnostic tool, it probably shouldn't be the only thing, and it probably shouldn't factor into 100% of cases, right? It shouldn't be, oh, well, you have to have this kind of brain, you must not be transgender, because you have to look out for the symptoms of like gender dysphoria as well. So it's not perfect, but you know, he won't even look at the studies. So how can he give any input on this?
Not perfect.
I'm literally about to skip forward. If this person's next sentence is still about this study, I'm skipping forward.
Like, I don't know, general relativity, but
okay, I have no money, but thank you anyway. Hope you're doing well.
They are pretty conclusive.
Doesn't mean anything.
So if anyone does have statements
doesn't mean anything. When you haven't looked at the studies, no, it probably doesn't mean anything. Like, he's laid out some stuff. Why does it have to be this way round and not look at the stuff and listen to what he's saying and then make up your conclusions? Why listen to what he's saying, decide for yourself that you've got no reason to look at the studies, and then just shit on him the whole time? That's not allyship. That's bullshit.
Some of the more major large-scale studies like this, of the scientists who worked on them, redact, or anyone else that I've spoken about this with, a person with an education saying they don't agree with something is still their opinion. It is not
Okay, but opinions can be weighed against each other. And my opinion is, I don't give a shit about these studies. Give me a reason to care.
Wow, great opinion, guy. Well done. Well done. Good job. By the way, someone having an education, like, they can still have dogshit takes. That doesn't mean anything. The amount of people I see with, like, master's degrees and stuff who, whatever's gone on in their brain, they're not engaging with reality anymore. Yeah, I don't automatically care about someone's opinion because they've got an education. That's just how it is.
Objective research paper. So I just wanted to throw out that little, like, no, they have
just
not.
A little one that lasted like 4 minutes.
Been disproven. You have been told things and did not feel the need to seek out sufficient evidence to decide you believe them. But I will do a very, very basic explanation of what the differences are. Basically,
has he given this video a fair shake, like, at all? I feel so gaslit watching this guy, honestly. Like, he thinks that him sweeping this person under the rug the way he is, that this is like trans rights or something. Because what? Because his audience wants to hear it? Because fucking transmedicalism is evil? It's been debunked, has it? How has fucking gender theory been proven? How has non-binary been proven to even be a thing? How has queer theory been proven? And why should people take it on as gospel, you know? None of that's been proven at all. Yet this has been debunked, and he won't look at the sources. He isn't saying that it's been debunked, but there's people in chat, you know.
Men and women, both trans and cis, have prefrontal cortexes that are different in both density and actual structure of gray matter folds.
No, we're still on this. Never mind.
We're still on this. Read the fucking shit then. If you don't understand why he's talking about it, maybe look at the supplemental material. Is it really that difficult? Like, surely if this was a topic that he was interested in, surely he would do a bit more due diligence than this. Like, have these people got previous? I don't understand. I have no idea. I have no idea how this person can call himself an ally and act like this towards a trans person, quite frankly. It's like this whole fair game thing. We can just write off evil trans people as fair game, and then we don't have to care about their rights anymore because we've come up with some reason like, oh, they don't care about our right. I don't fucking know, something like that.
This is consistent among trans people, like I mentioned earlier. And this has also been used by a person's gender identity as women are men as well as a big portion of your personality. However, are
He's skipping through already. That's not me doing that.
exclusively able to do certain things, it means that your brain
He does not give a shit. Look at that man's face. It's like, look at his face the whole time. Rewind and watch if you want. He doesn't care. He's not interested. He doesn't want to hear this particular trans person's experience. He's not interested in uplifting trans voices unless they agree with him. That's what it's coming across as. I don't think this person is serious at all.
Not anything fundamentally relevant to people trying to say.
Yeah, what about intersex? That's a great point, NB pal.
Intersex is like a physical condition. Let's see where he's going. I mean, hey, to me, if we're still talking about brains, it probably is interesting to examine intersex brains to see how they differ.
How about intersex people? What does an intersex brain look like? What does an XXY brain look like? How about an X brain or a XY Swire syndrome brain? I just love to.
Now he's suddenly interested. Like, why not read the research that he's provided? Now you're suddenly interested?
To know these things, you know? Oh, there's like a distinct male and female brain and nothing in between, right? You would almost say that there's a binary.
Is that what they're saying? Oh my god. The studies literally suggest the opposite. And that the binary is maybe not the best model for basing like the study of trans brains on. This is the worst thing. If he looked at it, he'd probably find stuff in there that he agrees with. And I don't know how that would compute. Maybe that's partly why. Maybe he had a look at them and thought, oh shit, I can't actually shit on this. It's hard to say. Personally, I don't think he even bothered doing that. It seems like very little thought went into this.
Right? No, that's freaking stupid. Everybody's got different brain, like different sizes of brain parts in their head.
Everyone's got different brains, yes, but do males and females really not, on average, have different brain types? Like, women have generally smaller heads than men. That would suggest that there are certain averages, there's certain normals when it comes to male and female brains, but we're gender abolitionists here, so we're, none that matters, I guess.
It's because we're all unique, and evolution is very messy, all right?
Women are meant for this, men are meant for this. It is.
This is all.
No, the one making no sense is you, Alec.
Reason why transmedicalist is called what it is because it is.
This is waffling.
It's pointless knowledge.
This is blood waffling, okay? Blood is waffling really bad. None of this matters.
Medical, it is seeing.
Waffling. Okay, yeah. He's waffling. Okay. He hasn't been listening the whole time. He's skipped through a bunch of this stuff. He suddenly is interested in brains when it's intersex, but now it's gone back to what this person's saying. Suddenly he doesn't care anymore. Fuck. I wonder if he's just literally just reacting to everything as it comes. Like, not really following the context of what they're saying, you know? Who knows? Let's go.
Transness through a medical lens.
This is transvestigation, by the way. Like, this is transvestigation taken from the outside of the body to the inside. Now this person wants to scan your brain and say, oh, but are you really trans?
When did they say that? They're just saying that there's evidence for brains, you know, being sexually dimorphic. Where are they saying any of this? This is complete extrapolation. Again, how can you call yourself an ally? You take a trans person's words and just completely twist them up. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, we must take out the scalpel. We must dig in and check to see if you are a real trans before you can enter the bathroom. They have the trans police doctors stationed outside of the bathrooms now, giving brain dissections to everybody who dare try to enter the sacred women's restroom. That's what you want.
How's that for a straw man, right? How's that for a fucking straw man? All he's done is straw man while complaining about straw man. Probably because that person complained about straw man first. So now it's like, well, that's something I can use on you to be like, well, actually, no, I'm turning your shit against you. Like, really? Come on. Like, how much? This guy is like 5-figure subscribers. That's shocking to me.
Right? Because clearly you care so much about this, they still haven't shut up about it.
In this case, neurology. But
yeah, they do care about this, funnily enough, because it's something that's pertinent to their life and their experiences. If it's not pertinent to you personally, as a cis person, why like shit on it? Why not just shrug your shoulders? Maybe this isn't for me. I need to fix the audio here. It's so like compress it a bit. Come on, man.
It's also the fact that a big portion of the dysphoria,
God.
which
Is
is a
this
medical
whole video?
abnormality, and the way to resolve the problems that come from that medical
Okay.
abnormality is through transitioning. It is through top surgery, bottom
Yes.
surgery, hormones, facial
Not necessarily, but yes, typically it does involve those things. Yes.
reconstruction, what have you, whatever it is people are doing to achieve that. And I often hear people getting mad at the argument that it is taking away resources from people who need them.
That is a really
He's like so mad. It seems like he's so mad that he's going into like pretty autistic detail about brains and stuff, because that's not an easy enough topic, right? That's not easy enough for him to actually have an opinion on. So like he has to shit on it and then look for the bit where it's a bit easier, or he can get some dunks in, because he can't dunk. All he can do is say who cares.
Surgery, bottom
Yes.
surgery, hormones, facial
not necessarily, but yes, typically it does involve those things. Yes.
reconstruction.
I feel like if someone's so-called transition includes none of those things, like, are they transitioning? Are they trans at that point?
What have you, whatever it is people are doing to achieve that. And I often hear people getting mad at the argument that it is taking away resources from people who need them.
That is a really stupid argument. The argument being, by the way, if you don't know, one of the arguments that trans meds give to in response to like transgender people who don't have dysphoria getting care, you know, like hormone replacement therapy. Like you can be trans, not have dysphoria, and still want to be the other sex, right? Like
Why would you? What's some examples of that?
present as the other sex. That's totally possible. At the end of the day, it's just a preference, right? But it's a preference that you have
If it's just a preference, why is it such a huge fucking rights issue?
the right to have. You know, you are allowed to present as a female for whatever reason you want. It doesn't matter if you have dysphoria or not, all right? And a doctor has the
If you don't have dysphoria, then where's the urgency? And if you don't have dysphoria, you don't have anything that's really bothering you about your current gender. So at that point, is it not just like body modification? Like that's not the same thing as being trans. I'm sorry.
jurisdiction to give people medicine and care for whatever reasons they see fit. They're trained to do that. You're not trained in medicine, I would bet. Okay? I see you drawing. You're a very good artist. And I would not take that from you, but you're not a medical professional like me. Okay, so take it.
Yeah, but he's done some research and you haven't done any. You call yourself a medical professional. Why are you doing this to start with? I don't know any medical professionals that have the time to be doing this kind of shit. Geez, I don't know. Let's keep going.
From me, which I'm not trying to appeal to my own authority here, but sometimes I do a little bit. You know,
I'm not trying to appeal to my authority, but A, you just did, and B, you've just said that now actually you do. Okay, great. Great input.
because I've studied this shit, so I know how it works.
I think these people
Just because you've studied something, it doesn't mean you know how it works. That literally is the appeal to authority thing. Like using your credentials to assume that you have a higher, you have a higher level of knowledge, but it doesn't take into account how you apply that knowledge, or even how much of that knowledge you even have, because who knows, like, anyone could say anything in this day and age. I could say that I'm a medical professional. I'm not, I could though.
people highly overestimate how common and easy to access and cheap gender clinics are. Even in America
So
and
what?
the UK, where
That's
they
great.
are
No, that's great. Make them cheaper. They should be free. Oh wait, no. Sorry, he's saying
They should be free. Like, what the fuck else there is free? I mean, I know he's going to be like free healthcare across the board, which in America is ambitious, but at least it's a policy, I guess. I know.
sorry, he was making a good point actually. He was saying that it's not a problem, right? That it's not a problem. Okay, sorry. We're on the same page still. Sorry.
more
I agree so
prevalent.
far.
There are still extremely long wait times for a lot of them, especially in areas
Oh
that
wait, no, we're not on the same page.
Oh my God, just listen. Just listen. It's not difficult.
Hold on, I gotta replay this whole thing.
I often hear people getting mad at the argument
I
that
often hear people getting mad.
I don't actually want this to go on too long, so the fact that he's having to replay so much stuff is not ideal for me. I've already seen this before, so I guess I'm biased, and I'm getting impatient because of that bias, but still.
it is taking away resources from people who need them.
Oh, so he is making that argument. Got it. We don't agree. Sorry, I completely missed it. My bad. Yeah, you're stupid for that one. Really
Well, I think
stupid.
these people
You're stupid for that one. Doesn't elaborate. Trans rights.
highly overestimate how common and easy to access and cheap gender clinics are. Even in America and the UK, where they are more prevalent, there are still extremely long
Okay, so sorry. We'll play it one more time for those in the back. Okay, pay attention, because I had to replay it again too.
and I often
Because you're not listening.
hear people getting mad at the argument that it is taking away resources from people who need them. First of all, I think these people highly overestimate how common and easy to access and cheap gender clinics are.
wrong, incorrect. They could
How is that incorrect? There's like a 5-year waiting period in the UK for like the London one that I went to. And when I went, it was like 10 months wait for the first appointment, by the way. And that doesn't take into account waiting before you got referred there. So once you've been referred, should I say, by your GP, it's then like about 5 years. And then you'll get your first appointment, which is nowhere near where you even get HRT, let alone anything else. This guy has no idea.
could be very cheap and very easy to access if we had the proper laws in place.
But we don't. He's talking about how things are right now. Why does it have to be, well, we could if we were in power, if we had the right laws? Well, we don't. And what do you have to actually advocate for that shit? What are you doing to push for this?
Or the lack thereof, I should say.
Even in America and the UK, where they are more prevalent, there are still extremely long wait times for a lot of them, especially.
That's entirely a problem that is fixable without impacting the patient. You would.
Is it? Is it a problem that's fixable without dealing with the patient? Like, yeah, people could build more gender clinics, I guess. Are you just going to hope that they do? What kind of argument is that? And then in the UK, it's a lot more complicated because we have, we have healthcare. So taxpayers' money goes towards that. So we're going to have a new government pretty soon. It's inevitable. Rishi Sunak, the Tories, they're on their way out. They haven't really been funding any kind of improvements to gender services meaningfully in a long time, which is why the wait's gone up so much. But the thing is, for any party to like pledge a whole load of further support to the trans community, that's going to instantly put off a whole load of the rest of the population. And if they care about electability, they're not going to do that. It's the people like the Green Party that are pushing stuff like that because they're not going to get in anyway. So I don't know what he's thinking here, quite frankly. It's a hell of a lot more complicated than, well, we could have the things if we had the things. We could have the things if we put laws in place. Well, what laws are you putting in place, or anyone else that thinks like you do? Do you know what I'm saying?
You would not hold any other medical condition to this standard. I guarantee you. My diabetes.
These people don't hold trans to the standard of anything else, so I don't know what he's going with here.
Is worse than yours, pal. So you don't get insulin, okay? You don't get insulin. I do, and that's because.
Isn't that how it works with like rationing? I've already seen this video, and he does a decent. To give him credit, he does a decent explanation of triage and like medical rationing, but he never seems to consider that maybe an answer to this should be an answer to the lack of resources and the long waiting times could be to prioritize people with the worst gender dysphoria. And those people that don't have gender dysphoria but want to transition for, I don't know, aesthetic reasons, maybe they shouldn't be as important. Maybe they're not as urgent. Like, what's the urgency in transitioning when you have no gender dysphoria? He talked about suffering. Some people are suffering more than others. Should there not be a conversation about maybe prioritizing the people that are suffering? Because to me, that makes sense. And it seems to be what this transmedicalist is waffling about. He's not waffling, he's making points. And this guy just doesn't like the points that he's making.
Because of the artificial insulin shortage imposed on us by our betters, okay? So now you get to suffer for that. So you
They've got artificial shortage, which might be true. I don't fucking know. I don't know what he means by any of that.
sit down and shut up. You don't get insulin, dumbass. My diabetes is worse than yours. Oh, you don't like that now, do you? Because you consider that a real medical condition, right?
in areas
Again, when did he say that? Like, he puts the cart before the horse so much. It's like, oh, you think this? Well, then you must think, let's expand until I get to something that's offensive or ridiculous, and then go after that. This is shit. This is the actual shit. This guy is not an ally. I don't think he's serious about any of this. I think this is a joke for him. And like, if you've ever seen the Jubilee appearance, like, it's difficult to get any other perspective than that. It's difficult to look at him and think anything else than that, for me at least.
that aren't like super liberal leftist, and they are still mostly not covered by health insurance. And this idea that
We shouldn't even need health insurance. Make it free.
being trans is just an identity, it's just a thing
Yes.
you do because it suits you or whatever,
Yes,
or you
it could be. It could be. That's totally valid.
identify that
Let me
way.
just-
It's valid. So it's valid. So if you're a person with really bad dysphoria and you're stuck behind 200 people in the queue that don't really have any dysphoria and are just doing it for shits and giggles, Then that's too bad. That's potentially another year wait for you. Oh well, they're valid, so you can't criticize that, I guess.
Just a thing you do.
Creates two problems. One, it makes
If I say I'm a woman and somebody asks, why do you say that? I'm going to say, I could literally say it because I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be
Yeah, but that doesn't make you a woman. And that doesn't mean anyone should take you seriously. And if you think being a woman would be fun, then I don't know if you call yourself a feminist, but you probably shouldn't.
fun, and it was. Now, granted, that's not typical, okay? It's very few and far between. Most trans people actually do suffer quite a bit.
So why are you like pushing this point so hard if it's like almost no one? Like, this makes no sense.
I feel like we should focus on those people.
trans healthcare seem cosmetic and often be classified that way by insurance. And two,
Yeah, and they're stupid. Insurance does not... Okay, let's say that you
The
get
insurance is like what runs this shit, is it not?
breast cancer, right? Breast cancer. And usually with breast cancer, it's unilateral. What that means is that it only occurs... If it only occurs on one side, and the treatment is a mastectomy for breast cancer, they're only going to do the mastectomy on one side. Okay? And that, I'm sure a lot of you know this, that leaves you with one tit. Okay? So if you only have one tit, some women are fine with that, but others aren't. Okay? So they get an implant. And I consider that medically necessary. But guess what? A lot of insurance doesn't because they suck. Okay? Stop
Oh, would it be medically necessary? They don't consider it medically necessary because they suck. This guy's arguments are so fucking dog shit.
kowtowing to insurance. Go lick their asses if you're so horny for them, man. Like, seriously, I know that I'm being mean.
What is he talking about? Every time this guy says that the trans guy says anything, he goes off on one. Like, you want to lick insurance guys' asses now? What?
I know this is mean, but like, seriously, these are such dumb brain dead arguments.
it
How
perpetuates
so? He won't fucking explain. Like, you can't... There must be some fucking rule when making this kind of content about saying your arguments are dumb and then not elaborating whatsoever.
the idea that trans
He
healthcare
knows he's being mean. Why? Why are you being mean? Is it because you don't like what he has to say? Because it seems that way.
is not
have to
necessary
listen to
for the
somebody
mental
shilling for
well-being
insurance
of the trans person,
Shilling for insurance companies? What? Fuck me. What insurance company is he shilling for? Like, are you serious?
which is not the case. However, a lot of these people will still go get top surgery or
Great.
hormones or whatever and do it as an aesthetic choice.
Cool.
Or do
for
it
them.
because they do have dysphoria and, like I mentioned at the beginning, understand dysphoria as immense suffering and not discomfort. But for the people who truly don't have dysphoria, it is simply a way to validate themselves
Great.
or to achieve an
Sounds
aesthetic
great.
goal.
Sounds like their lives are
While
better.
for
Is it that great when the waiting times are so bad that people with genuine dysphoria are waiting indefinitely? Like, do we not ever consider things like suicide rates, how much the wait for care impacts them? Quite a lot, by the way.
the
I like it.
trans
Let's do it.
people who experience dysphoria,
This is like, there is no depth whatsoever. He doesn't want to get deep with this because he can't. That's why he was skipping through earlier. He doesn't give a shit.
they could potentially kill themselves.
This is, no, I'm sorry, I keep pausing. This is like poser shit. This is like the fakest kind of activism where you don't have a horse in this race. You're not trans. You're just sucking up to some people you see on Twitter. He's already been an alt-righter, and I guess that must have failed because now he's doing this weird left shit. It's the same shit either way. You're just pushing the side that you've found yourself on without thinking about it. And when you're encouraged to think, you get angry.
harm themselves, end up hospitalized, whatever,
Okay.
be severely mentally ill
They can
due
get
to
it
their
too. They
inability
can
to
all get it.
access this necessary resource. Well,
Well, they can't right now. That's the point. Why don't you join us in the real world? Why don't you join us today, now, here and now, where things are actually happening? Like, let's stop this LARPing about socialism for 2 seconds and actually focus on what we currently have and what we can do with what we currently have.
clinics are being aggressively overcrowded. And
That's not happening.
He's lying at this point. There's two possibilities. He has done that little research that he's just gonna argue with every point this person makes, which, if that's like a strategy for making content, that's completely fucking cringe. Like, just arguing back at everything another person says. Like, that's pathetic. That's not thinking. That's just contradicting automatically. The other possibility is he knows that this isn't true, but he's lying because he doesn't want to agree with this guy on anything. Either way, this is utterly embarrassing, pathetic. I don't want this kind of activism. I don't want this kind of advocacy. because it's not based in anything real. It's based in bullshit. It's based on whatever feelings he or his audience has.
That you need to provide a source for that if you think that's.
Oh my God. But he can't even look it up himself. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. What are you supposed to say to this shit, man?
Happening. I would love to see a source. And if that is happening, by the way, let's say that it is. Let's grant you that.
Okay, let's say that it is. Let's even find a source. If this will take a short time. If it will take, it'll take.
That's not my fault.
Listen, look it up. It's really easy. Waiting times, gender identity clinics. Hang on, we can do it right now. For trans people, the wait for a first appointment at a gender identity clinic, this is the UK by the way, can now be 5 years or more, despite a target of just 18 weeks. Gender UK service wait times. Let me have a look. See if I can move this. Here we go. So London GIC, for example, to be seen in month 61, that's about 5 years. 88, much longer. We've got some that are much quicker, but it really depends where you are. I mean, if you're not near Wales, then Cardiff isn't really, you know, it's not a very suitable option. We've got ranges, and I mean, a lot of the ones with shorter wait times are outside of England as well, except Glasgow here, which is not doing great. Leeds, Northampton, Nottingham's the only particularly short one, and we've got at least 2 that aren't accepting new patients. It's not good, is the point, and he's completely ignorant if he thinks that there's not wait times, if there's not a problem with that. And he's obviously thinking this because of his ideology, because he wants there to be not a problem, so that it's fine for anyone to access gender identity clinics for any reason whatsoever, even if there's no urgency whatsoever, because this person doesn't have dysphoria, because this person just wants a certain kind of aesthetic, or is trying to fit in with a community or something, which people do. Like, these kind of people will deny that as well. It's true. You can't pretend that social contagion isn't a factor in all this. And that's also not the fault of like other trans people who have gender dysphoria that are waiting because this shit is killing them. You know what I'm saying? But there's no ability to think deeply enough to even get that far, from what I can tell. It's all ideology.
That is not my fault. You know what's crowded? The ER. Okay? You know where I go? If I have a stomach ache that is a 10 out of 10, I go to the ER. Maybe I'm just constipated. Doesn't fucking matter. I'm still going to the ER.
You go to the ER for a stomach ache? He said that's 10 out of 10, like maybe a really bad one, but how often are you getting those? Like, Jesus.
All right? Doesn't matter how serious it is. That's where I go. Sometimes that is just the first step that you go to if you feel like something is, you know, serious enough to warrant that, even if you haven't been shot in the chest, okay? Like other people in the ER have.
And in the ER, or the A&E in England, people get seen according to need. I've been to A&E once in my life with like mental health issues, a long time ago. Some woman came in, she had like a fucking gash in her arm. Like, she got seen a long time before I did because there was a chunk of her arm missing. Like, that's fair enough. But he's not gonna link that back and suggest that maybe we need to think about that for trans people, considering that the dysphoria element is a huge factor in how difficult the wait's gonna be. And if someone's just doing it for shits and giggles, like, are they really that urgent? Like, he has to think about stuff like this, and he's choosing not to. Because to actually think about what this person is saying is to engage with like bad ideology and like wrong think, and that's not how these people operate. But this is complete bullshit. Like, this person, the best thing he can do for trans people and for trans rights and all the rest of that shit is to just shut the fuck up about it forevermore. Because he's not interested. He doesn't want to do the reading. He asks why he should care about a study that someone brought on as evidence of their belief system that they are espousing on here. It's a joke.
The ER is always wildly overcrowded, so why are we not talking about ERs? I just find that very interesting.
Because the video's about trans people, why else? Why do we have to only talk about what you want to talk about? Oh, why don't we talk about this instead? Because that's not what they're talking about, quite literally.
Issue in America and the UK.
It's way worse of a problem to me.
That isn't even referencing countries like Denmark that have one clinic for the entire country.
It is very infuriating.
And these wait times can be weeks to months to even years. Especially
okay, build more clinics. Done.
For surgeons.
You just solved it for everyone. Build more clinics. Great. Why isn't this guy just running every country?
It's like with the formula shortage. If there was a childless woman with a baby doll and she goes and she buys formula, she buys a
Yeah, why don't these people like start setting up like co-op gender clinics or something? Like if that's what you think, just fucking do that, because you obviously think there's more clinics needed. Maybe there is. And again, in the UK, in other countries, it's going to be more complicated because it's, you know, it's not private healthcare. So the people in general have an investment as to what the NHS does with their money. And pouring loads of it into trans issues right now would basically be the best way of not getting voted in, because like the public perception of trans stuff is just not at a high right now. It's very much at a low.
bunch of formula and she doesn't need it, but it's fun to her to feed it to her baby doll.
No. You're creating this. This is a false equivalency. There's no shortage of trans healthcare. Okay? Any shortage of trans healthcare is artificial. You are now building a natural shortage of formula, which is real. That does happen. Okay? And if that does happen, sometimes you need to ration it. That's real. All right? But usually it's not a real problem with.
Yeah, this is exactly it. So if there was a shortage, which he's not saying there is, but which we happen to know there is, what he's suggesting is that maybe the treatment needs rationing. Would that not be to the people with the worst cases of gender dysphoria? Does that not mean that you'd have to kind of do some work to discern who needs this care and who doesn't? Does it not make it a bit morally dubious that there's people that enter into these systems that don't have gender dysphoria that are pretty much just doing it for aesthetic reasons?
Availability. Usually it's just our corporate overlords saying that we don't deserve baby formula.
Just the anti-capital. I don't care about this fucking anti-capitalist shit. I'm not here for that.
Okay? So if there is a real, legit shortage of formula as a result of lack of production, then yes.
Yeah, and he'll write off certain shortages as artificial. I don't know why that means anything. I don't know what he is trying to say. It doesn't matter if it's artificial. Fucking who knows. I feel like whenever these people say anything like this, I have to know how they even define half those words before I can begin to like argue with it.
So we ration it. And we would do the same with trans healthcare. But guess what? There's no legit shortage of trans healthcare.
Yeah, so he does think that. So do you not kind of agree with some transmed points? And would you not agree that it's more urgent for some people than others? Like, it's so annoying. Like, all he has to do is do any research or even talk to some trans people that aren't brain fucked. There's plenty of us out there, it turns out. Like, fuck me. He doesn't know what he's talking about. People who don't know what they're talking about should not be talking about things they don't know anything about. That should be obvious. But sometimes making money for doing something other than going and getting an actual job is more important to these people than anything else, which is interesting for like anti-capitalists, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. I'm not here for like the anti-capitalism stuff. Like maybe in the future I'll take that on a bit more because it's extremely prevalent in trans circles and very, very much used as a way to gatekeep other trans people out of trans circles, which is interesting because of the way people kind of talk as if like gatekeeping is always bad, which clearly they don't believe. But that's another subject, so let's keep going.
Healthcare, and until you can show me that there is, I don't buy this. It's bullshit. You're spewing bullshit.
All right, look, she doesn't need
All
it.
right.
Yeah, so his... fuck me, I keep stopping him. His position is there's no shortage, so even if that is happening, this is all bullshit. But there is a shortage, so he's just wrong. Completely wrong. He won't look into it. Like, he won't do any research. I would like to have thought he'd have looked into literally any of this beforehand. Oh, hi, me, Yama07. How you doing?
She enjoys having it. If there wasn't a formula shortage, it wouldn't be an issue. It'd be a little like, why? But it wouldn't be a big issue.
And it doesn't matter why either.
However,
It doesn't matter. Wait.
There's no legit shortage of trans healthcare, and until you can show me that there is, I don't buy this. It's bullshit. You're spewing bullshit.
Sorry, every time he says that, that's a lie. That's not true.
all right, look, she doesn't need
All
it,
right.
but she enjoys having it. If there wasn't a formula shortage, it wouldn't be an issue. It'd be a little like, why? But it wouldn't be a big issue.
And it doesn't matter why either.
However,
It doesn't matter why either. I'm not quite sure what he's saying. I'm whatever.
there is a formula shortage.
And once again, if the shortage is being caused by our corporate overlords, I'm going to go after their asses. It don't matter why that lady's buying formula. It ain't her problem. It is not her problem and it's not her fault.
Wait, if there's a formula shortage, is it not a bit immoral to be buying formula when you don't need it? To me, that seems very immoral, but hey, I don't know. We think differently on that, I guess.
Okay? If there's a legit shortage of formula, then yes, she would be the asshole.
A legit. So it depends on why there's a shortage. I don't know about that. I think there's still the effect of contributing to a further shortage by consuming something you don't need, buying something you don't need that someone else then, it takes them longer to access. So it kind of ties into this quite a lot. But it sounds like you could get him to a place where potentially, yeah, the people that are accessing gender affirming care who don't have dysphoria, who are just doing it for aesthetic reasons, yeah, in certain cases, maybe it does seem like they're the asshole or whatever he's saying.
You guys understand what I'm saying? I feel like I'm being clear. Just, legit shortage versus artificial. That's all. This person is constructing.
I don't see why that matters. And when he talks about it being a shortage because of our corporate overlords, it still is how it is. Like, you can not agree with why there's a shortage, but still care about how people act during it. I mean, that's what I think.
A scenario in which there is a legit shortage of formula, whereas in reality, there's an artificial shortage, if anything, which I don't even think that's true, but let's say
He doesn't even think that's true. What do you know that's true, Alec? Quite frankly, what do you know that's true? What have you actually looked into? Did you even look into this example before deciding you'd bring it up? I guess not, because he's probably reacting blind, but the thing about streaming, especially if you've got like an audience that will watch whatever the fuck you do, you can sit there and bring things up. Like, you don't have to worry quite as much about like the dead air and stuff, I guess. Like, you get to a certain point, you're not really trying to impress people as much. So you've got all the time in the world to do this. He's just choosing not to.
It is an artificial shortage of trans healthcare.
Shortage, and she is.
There's an artificial shortage of trans healthcare. That's still a shortage, and that still has a material effect on people. That still means people are going to be waiting who do have crippling gender dysphoria, who may not be able to wait 5 years. And some of them are the people that end up like killing themselves. But that doesn't seem to matter to him, so who cares?
So
using this very scarce resource
it's not a false equivalency. He's just talking out his ass.
For entertainment purposes. And it would also present an issue where
that's okay,
if it was
Vince,
totally normal for women to go buy scarce resources to feed a baby doll, and everyone said, that's okay, that's cool, you should be allowed to do that, I'm not going to criticize that at all, that would result in the formula being...
How is it a false equivalency? He hasn't explained that whatsoever.
Even more hard to find for the people who need it, which parallels is that...
Yeah, like, whether that's an artificial or real shortage, that's still the effect that's happening, ultimately. Like, you can campaign against the corporate overlords or whatever you're saying, but at the same time, that doesn't give you license to just buy loads of fucking formula when you don't have any kids. And maybe it should be seen as the same for like trans healthcare. Maybe if you don't have dysphoria, maybe that's not something you should be looking into. Maybe you should just be looking into whatever body modification you want to do, because that's what it is at that point, to at least some of us, I don't know.
It wasn't normalized for these
so guess what you do at that point? Go steal it. Go steal it from those rich fucks.
People to be going and doing.
I do condone stealing if it's to save somebody's life.
God, this guy's so radical. Oh my God, he's so radical, dude. Oh, I wish I was just like Alec Gunter. He's so radical.
Especially a baby. I'm allowed to do that.
These things, then it would not be as hard for people to access them. And then trans healthcare may be seen as a necessity. It may not be seen as an aesthetic choice or something that you just kind of want. It is seen as a medical necessity. And
we are not pro shoplifting in this house, by the way. My partner works retail. Fuck shoplifting. Fuck shoplifters. That shit's cringe.
Eventually, hopefully, that would lead to it being covered.
You're so insecure. This is bleeding insecure.
So we're psychoanalyzing him now. Don't even know what he looks like, much less really anything about him beyond this video that you haven't been listening to, and now we're telling someone else they're insecure. This is fucking projection, by the way.
Man, like what's going on? You feel like you have to validate yourself by comparing yourself to other not as trans people? That's pathetic.
You feel like you have to look good by like shitting on other people you're not even listening to?
Man, that's really pathetic.
That's pathetic, man. That's really pathetic.
Insurance and more clinics opening and having the resources more widely available, and then if people really want to go do that, then go do it, whatever, because it's now accessible. But it still shouldn't be classified as trans healthcare.
Yeah, see, I agree with what this person is saying. I'm sure he'll find some reason to say that it's stupid and probably not even engage, but let's see. Let's see. I'm going to be good faith, just like Alec Gunter supposedly was earlier in the video. Let's see.
if someone is not dysphoric, because it is aesthetic for those people and it is a medical necessity for those of us who
You may consider it aesthetic. A doctor might consider it medically necessary.
are not those people.
Well, yeah, there'll be a difference of opinion, but if you don't have dysphoria, it's probably they're gonna consider it aesthetic.
Then
And
what?
one of the last things I want to touch on is the idea of non-binary, because this is a kind of split issue. A lot of people just automatically assume that trans meds are anti-non-binary, but
My take on non-binary is just as valid as other trans people. You're non-binary, great. Katie's non-binary, okay?
Just as valid as other trans people. I don't personally see non-binary as trans. I think there's crossover. I think you can be both. If you follow at least some steps of like medical transition, I guess I'd consider you trans some way. Just calling yourself non-binary, that doesn't make you trans. You can't just call yourself something and you are something. Like, we have to get rid of that idea because it's nonsense.
Yes, non-binary is valid.
this is just like,
But it's valid, so yeah, there you go. I don't know, surely these like gender people, like non-binary people, don't they get as sick of like hearing the word valid as the rest of us do?
I don't
And non-binary is still valid even if you still need trans healthcare, all right?
even know where this came from. It is generally not a widely held opinion. Most trans meds
It came from people not ascribing to one or the other gender, okay? The same way that being trans femme or trans masc came about. Exactly the same process, just in the middle.
believe in the idea
I don't use trans femme or trans masc. I'm a trans woman. I'm a transsexual. That's it.
of duo sex and null sex. Essentially,
Yeah, wait until they find out what American insurers think of dental care. My luxury mouth bones, right?
null sex being sex
So
dysphoria, body dysphoria that makes you want to be neutral, to be flat chested, and have neutral genitalia, or duo sex, meaning that
Okay, but dysphoria is on a spectrum, okay? We love talking about spectrums here, right? Dysphoria is on a spectrum. You can have dysphoria that just means you look in the mirror, you see tits, you're like, I don't really like those, but whatever. You move on with your day, right? Still dysphoria, but
This is a point he made earlier. Like, come on, does he not remember what happened earlier in the video? This discussion was had already, and you agree with him, I guess.
I could do without those. Okay. Well, going all the way to, if these tits don't come off my body right now, I will chew somebody's head off. Both of those are dysphoria on opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay. And you don't get to decide that, my friend.
Well, that's like a spectrum of severity, I guess. And someone else doesn't get to decide. Well, maybe this guy doesn't personally get to decide how strong someone's dysphoria is, but a doctor might. And if shortages can't be resolved by just building more clinics or something like that, it might be something that they have to consider. And then, yeah, the people with less dysphoria are probably not going to be seen as quickly. And maybe that's how it should be.
Doctors do. So off.
you have dysphoria because
I mean, it's a video where we're like exploring ideas. It's not like he's saying, this is, fuck, what was he saying again? It's not up to you how trans someone is, basically.
Luxury mouth bone spectrum. Okay. And you don't do whatever you want. It's just
You don't get to decide. Well, anyone's got a right to an opinion.
this little
it
tiny
strikes me
group
as
of people
odd, that's all.
here
Like, how
that the
did you
vast majority
arrive
of you
there?
disagree with, they are now what we're going to assume all of you believe, even though that has never been the case, and probably never will be the case, and does not apply to most of you. And I guess to finish off, there's some kind of subcategories that aren't really required to be transmed, but that kind of are common beliefs among transmedicalists just because the ideology
This is so convoluted. Why can't you just say that, like, anybody who wants to be a man can be one, anybody who wants to be a woman can be one, anybody who wants to be neither or both can?
Well, can you? Can I be a woman just because I want to? I can take on certain characteristics, especially social characteristics of being a woman, certain physical ones. Mostly, you know, artificial. I don't have a fucking womb, but, like, can you? Really?
Be that.
Is this not kind of... There's a lot of people that won't even entertain the fact that they were born male when they're trans women. Like, at a certain point, aren't we reinforcing that? Aren't we encouraging people to be kind of delusional about it? Like, that shouldn't be how it is. And me personally, I'm never going to say I'm just like a woman. I'm just like a normal woman. I don't want to say cis, but that's what I mean. I don't know. This guy's killing me. How much longer is there? Not too much. There's 2 videos, but I'm not going to... Oh, it's almost over. Thank fuck for that. I'm not going to watch the second one because I've done that before. It was painful. I don't care to.
And then, like, let them go to their doctors and let them and their doctors decide which treatments are best for them. Isn't that so much simpler? That makes life so much simpler. I know.
It makes life so much simpler until the patient wants one thing and the doctor has a different opinion. Like, I haven't really looked recently, but I'm pretty sure most of the GICs in the UK get like review bombed because non-binary people are pissed off that they won't see them or something because they want a mastectomy, but they don't really actually give that much of a shit. So I don't know. I don't know.
That I've been really mean this whole time, and I did mean to not do that. But like,
He meant to not do that. Like, really, really? At what point? At what point? You weren't listening. Like, even when you're not being mean, you're still kind of being a bit mean, right?
I feel like I'm a little justified, right? I'll try to lighten up.
How? Justified how? If someone's presenting an argument about something that isn't even your life, and, you know, they're putting that out there, shouldn't you listen to see if there's any common ground? To see where you can improve on the idea or push back against things you don't agree with instead of just saying no, just contradicting, just sticking your heel down every time. Like, I don't see the point. I don't know why he covered this, quite frankly. Maybe he felt the need to get a bit more clout with his woke gender type audience. But this is terrible. This is a terrible video. This guy is not an ally. He shouldn't be advocating for trans rights, quite frankly. If you know this little and you're this bad faith going into a video made by someone who does have a horse in this race and has a reason to care and probably is sick of like transmedicalism getting this stereotypical version of itself pushed by people who don't agree with it. It's exactly the same as how liberals and conservatives like describe each other a lot of the time. It's exactly the same. And these people are okay with it because they've picked a side. And it's so easy. All you have to do is just agree with everything that sounds good to you and disagree with anything that doesn't. And then just stick your heels down and just say, no, it's like this. No, that's how it is. That is all he's done the whole time. Like, I would love to know what any of his actual positions on these things are when you actually dig deep into it. Like, imagine actually asking him some of that stuff and expecting him to come to some kind of nuanced position instead of just spouting off Twitter shit. You know what I'm saying?
Up a little bit, but like we're already at the end of the video anyway, for one. And for two, I like it's infuriating. It's infuriating. Like, this person
Why? You don't even have a horse in this race. Why do you care this much?
is acting like they know anything about medicine.
Well, you haven't followed up with anything they've said to disprove them. Like, they put studies up that you didn't look at. You said, who cares? Like, fuck me. How can you... Shit, I don't even know what I'm saying. This guy is like the worst of the worst.
And they don't even know the first thing about like why we should care whether a brain is male or female.
If you can't work out why in the context of transgender, male to female, female to male, you should care about dimorphism between male brains and female brains, then you definitely shouldn't be getting involved in these conversations because you just aren't cut out for it, quite frankly.
Okay, it's interesting, I guess, but that's about the extent of it. It doesn't
Well, then why are you shitting on it? You're agreeing it's interesting. Then why shit on it?
actually matter when it comes to trans healthcare.
Why not? And why are you, a cis person, qualified to say that, whereas this person is not qualified to be talking about the stuff that you're claiming they shouldn't be, like the medicine kind of stuff? Have you actually looked into any of their claims?
Okay? The only thing that matters is that a trans person needs healthcare and a doctor is willing to provide it. The only
And how is cutting out a load of the conversation going to help with that? Because then people are just going to keep asking the same things. You're going to keep being like, no, we've debunked this, we've debunked this. You haven't debunked it, and you haven't actually provided good arguments for most of your own side.
thing that matters. The shortage bullshit is just that. It's bullshit.
Shortage bullshit is just bullshit. Okay. I would love to challenge, I don't know if Alex Gunter will ever see this. I would love to challenge him to go to a trans person who has just been referred to the GIC for their first appointment. I would love for him to go to one of those people and say that. If I said that to half the trans people I know, I'd get fucking laughed at. That's the stupidest thing you could possibly say. And this guy used the UK as an example. So it's not like I'm throwing up our system and saying, well, it's like this here, but actually in the US it's not. I don't really know so much about what it's like in the US, but I do know what it's like here. And what he's saying is bullshit.
Okay? It's fear-mongering.
It's fear-mongering. There we go. It's a conspiracy. That's what it always comes down to. Anything I don't like, it's a conspiracy. It's right-wing talking points. It's fear-mongering. whatever it is, you know, like it's such an easy out. Anything you're uncomfortable with, just blame it on something else. Just say, well, you know, that sounds like something an alt-righter could have said. Well, maybe the alt-right is right about that particular point then. Like, who cares? Just engage.
Results in these often.
There's no shortage of trans
being
healthcare.
against xenogenders, being against.
There's no shortage. How many times has he said this now? Fuck me. Just give me a headache.
Noun pronouns. A lot of them don't support pansexual, which I'm kind of on the fence on. I don't really have a fully formed opinion on that.
Pansexual? Why?
But not liking pansexual is.
Well, pansexual isn't that much different to bisexual. I do understand the difference, but it's not much of one functionally. Let's be honest.
A common belief.
I don't have a fully formed opinion on that. Let me help you out. Don't worry about it.
Being against.
We've got a transphobic furry. How is he transphobic? Non-binary is a wonderful place. Cool. As a pan-trans man. Jesus Christ. I think a lot of the arguments boil down to nobody takes me seriously except for trans reds. So he's the reason they list for why I should be believed. What? Where did he say any of that? You're just reading into it. What did Alex say to this? That's incredibly interesting. It makes a lot of sense. Does it? Or does it make sense because that's the kind of shit you want to hear? Okay, we've got more. The algorithm, thanks for promoting this. Utter doofus. Not sure if I'm on board with pansexual. Heck off. Yeah, that's all it takes. I'm not sure if I'm on board with something. That's all it takes. This is like Twitter, but an extension of it because this fucking idiot decided that he should talk about things.
Non-binary or even lesbians, the idea that pronouns are gendered. None of those things are inherent to being transmedicalist, and there are transmedicalist people who agree and disagree with.
I want to see that thing about lesbians.
Non-binary or he/him lesbians, the idea that
he/him lesbians are valid.
He/him lesbians. I mean, if you really want to be a he/him lesbian, then be a he/him lesbian. I don't know that I could take it seriously because it's like it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you're that into being subversive, I guess, then have fun with that. I don't see the point.
Are gendered. None of those things are inherent to being transmedicalist, and there are transmedicalist people who agree and disagree with each of those opinions. However, the idea that being trans is
and the ones that like
see, he's and whatever he's saying, I don't care anymore. He's made a pretty good case, I think, for why there's a lot more nuance with transmedicalism than what people make out. And this guy hasn't really engaged enough to actually fight against any of that. So he just isn't acknowledging it. Like the main points that this guy is mentioning, that the original creator is referencing, he doesn't know anything about them. So he's not going to engage on those points. He's going to engage on things like, oh, well, is that what suffering means? Oh, well, no, actually, that's bullshit.
If they disagree with me on any of those things, they're wrong. And they're more than...
What about whether they disagree with you on there being a shortage of trans healthcare? Because you are, like, unequivocally wrong about that. So how about that?
Fucking to come on and prove me wrong. But until then, they're
wrong. Oh, I'd love to talk to some of these people, man. Like, that's partly, I mean, why I've started doing this, because I don't get any real conversations about stuff like this. And when I do try and share my views, I get similar responses to what this guy is doing to the transmedicalist person that made the video. It's just diversions. It's just denying clear, obvious facts, such as there being a shortage of trans healthcare, which he could have found out about in like 2 fucking clicks, probably. I don't know. Is there much left of this?
A medical condition, and that it is based in your neurology, and that you need dysphoria. That all kind of culminates in how the hell do you have dysphoria if you're cat plushy gender? That doesn't make logical sense. It does not work with the current neurology.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like gender dysphoria, like there has to be some kind of distinction between dysphoria that moves between sexes and that which doesn't, because when you're like transsexual female, you know what you're moving to. Whereas if you're like, you were born male, but you don't identify as either, you're kind of falling somewhere between, but like, how specific can you be? And there's a whole lot of reasons why, to me, it doesn't make sense to conflate non-binary and trans anywhere near as heavily as people do. Like, for example, I think being misgendered is a very different experience. If you're trying to pass as a woman, as a man, as a born man, let's say, born male, and it doesn't work, it's humiliating because it comes off that you weren't trying hard enough, or that you thought you were trying really hard and like looking good, but someone's telling you that you failed, you look like shit, you look like a man. If you're like a they, them, and you were born female and you don't identify as anything, and someone doesn't call you a they, I just can't get my head around being the same kind of thing. Because like, there's a social norm about calling people he if they look a certain way, and calling people she if they look a certain way, which transsexuals are playing on, you know. They want to get gendered the way they want to get gendered, so you present a certain way. That's still the case if you are trying to be a they and are trying to look androgynous, which, I'm going to be honest, doesn't work for many people. But it is what it is. I think that's a completely different experience, and that's one reason why I don't support trans and non-binary being interlinked the way they are. And they're definitely not like synonyms to me.
Etc.
So what? Why are you trying to dissect
We're just back to, so what?
people's brains? Stop that. That's weird.
Why are you trying to dissect people's brains? I don't know, read the fucking studies, listen to a fucking word he said the whole time. Maybe that'll help.
Your brain isn't cat gender. Stupid.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can be born a male or a female, and your brain can be different depending on that. You can't be born a cat. Like, I don't even know how that would begin to work. There's a difference. There has to be a difference. And if we need to start just splitting it between transsexuals and everyone else, maybe that's what we need. I don't know. But this guy doesn't understand shit. And he must be going off whatever his community thinks, I guess. It's hard to say. All I can do is speculate, which is what he's been doing and which is what I don't want to do. But, geez. When someone knows this little and isn't prepared to do research, my ultimate takeaway is this is like an ego thing. It's got nothing to do with trans rights. He's not interested in furthering any kind of cause. He's not an activist. This is just like a joke for him. Maybe it's for community. Maybe it's so that he can fit in somewhere. Like, I can't square it in my brain any other way, because I can't imagine being happy to be this ill-informed and to say this many completely incorrect things without even checking, because that's what feels good. Like, to me, if it was becoming apparent that I was doing something like that, I would be pretty shocked, and I would be, I'd be ashamed of myself, quite frankly. But hey, it's okay to do it from this side, and to then claim that other people who are trying to be honest are doing that from the other side. That's how it comes across a lot of the time.
You dummy. Sit down, sweaty. Like, this is stupid. This is stupid.
There we go. This is stupid.
Come on, you're a good artist. Focus on your art.
And there it is. What is it? Stick to art, stick to music. Don't talk about politics. That's the classic thing that any musician that ever talks about politics, any artist that ever talks about politics experiences. Everyone on the other side being like, oh, stick to music, stick to art, don't talk about politics. Like, a right-winger could be saying this about like a leftist artist very, very easily.
Like, what is all this? You built you're a great artist, and you built a YouTube off of this? Really? That's such a waste, man.
Why? You haven't made any good points against him.
Have some standards for yourself.
And I mean, I could go on tangents of how all of those
Have some standards for yourself, aka agree with me, not with yourself. I don't know.
relate to it, but I'm not going to. I didn't want this video to be too long. And it's still shorter than most of my other videos. So I'm going to end it there. If anyone has any specific questions, I will leave a pinned comment that you can reply to. And I may, depending on how many good questions are asked, I may make a comment response video to comments left on this video. We'll see. Check the description for sources on all of the science I referenced.
The sources don't matter. This is the...
How would you know when you haven't read them? And when you were barely listening to a word he was saying? How would you know? How could you possibly know this?
One time that I will... This is one of the first times I've ever said that the sources do not matter. I've not...
Yeah, why is that? Think about why that is. Is it because of the topic he's covering that you're not very comfortable with? Is that why?
I've not been given a reason to care about these sources. This is like having a conversation about I don't know, like dogs and dog feces and like what to look for in dog feces to determine whether or not they're sick, right? And you're like, oh, here's one about cats and their fur.
What is it with this guy and like analogies? He can't analogize something for shit. He can't come up with a comparable example of what someone's saying for shit. He can't summarize someone else's position for shit. So the only way you should really be doing it, if that's really the case, is to quote people directly. But you're not going to do that either, because you can't misrepresent someone's arguments if you do it like that. So, hey, I don't know.
This is the cat fur, right? Like, it's not related. Well, they're both animals. No, they're not related.
Hold on.
Yeah, that was stupid.
There we go. That was stupid. Glad we cleared that up. Glad we had Alec Gunter here to teach us about how trans rights should actually be. Right? Okay, fuck me. He said about wanting to talk to people if they prove him wrong. Hey, I'd love to talk to him. Hopefully wouldn't be just someone telling me I'm stupid the whole time. You know, it'd be nice to feel like any of these leftists actually listen to other people, because to me, it's very telling the way cis people who are allies react to trans people they disagree with. It's super telling as to what their motives are and whether they give a shit about trans rights. Because he could have been like respectfully disagreeing, even if he still had no arguments. But he has to go out of his way to shit on this person relentlessly. For what? What did he say that was so insane that we're comparing like trans meds to the Nazis and shit like that? He hasn't given us a reason as to why he's so like anti this guy, quite frankly. So like, it's very nice. It's very nice whining about how no reason was given to look at a source. But ultimately, none of that shit matters, because you're just coming out with reasons not to engage with what he's saying anyway. So there we go. That was a complete waste of time. Alex Gunt, no good at this. Just stop. Just find something else to talk about. Do the shitty anti-capitalist grift that you're on, where you make money being an anti-capitalist, as upside down as that sounds to me. All right.